Welcome to today's podcast. We have with us today Siddharth Rajsekar, who is the founder of ILH, and he is one of the creators of the new education system in India. So, Siddharth would like to listen from you and hear from you.
Thank you. Great to have you. And great to be here. Pankaj, I know you've wanted to always talk about this, have a conversation on where things are going in this system of education overall in the world and why this is the most important thing. So yeah, I'd love to have a conversation with you and get to know more about you and the questions that you have in your mind. What do you want me to share? Yeah, you can go ahead and ask me those
questions. Let us know about the freedom business model, which I know you cater to your industry. The people who are in the digital space, they know about it. But apart from the digital industry, I want to take it to the other parts of the country as well. So yes. What is this freedom business model all about? You are working from home with very limited employees, trying to create freedom for yourself, which in fact I never heard of before. Freedom is a terminology I relate it with the independence of our country. And you are the first person who has made freedom for our own life. So please throw some light for the other part of the public to be aware of.
Yeah. See, there are different kinds of business models. Like you have a typical manufacturing companies, which requires a lot of place, it requires people, it requires infrastructure costs and operations. It's a very intensive, capital intensive kind of a business. Then you have distribution based companies, which are only focused on distribution of physical products. And then you have services oriented companies. So many people who are running agencies, who are providing service providers on various different topics. That's another kind of business that requires place, it requires people, it requires infrastructure costs. And then you have another kind of business model, which are the e-commerce kind of business models, where you're selling products and you're selling it online, but it's still physical products that requires logistical, support. You need to have some bit of manufacturing, shipping, handling of items. And then you have a fourth kind of a business model, which is a franchise-based business model. Like you have BNI, you have natural spa and salon, where you have a business in a box, which also requires people, place, infrastructure costs. Then you have another business model, which is very popular these days, is the startup companies are having the aggregator-based models. Like you create a platform, like Uber is an example. So you have an app, they don't pay salary to any driver. They just they create a technology platform that connects the consumer to the service provider. And this is what's been really picking up steam for all of these on-demand services, apps that we are using these days, from Swiggy, Zomato, everything else. So, but again, for this kind of a business model also, you need a lot of capital to develop a product like that, and a lot of capital to market a product. Otherwise, startup companies, that's what they go for funding. They get angel investors and VCs to really fund the development and the marketing of the app. And it's a hit or a miss because there are so many apps that come and go. Correct. So the freedom business model is a business model that does not need any of these things. When I say is, you don't need a place, you don't need a large number of employees, because we are selling digital products. So I got into the journey in 2018 where I wanted to sell my knowledge as a digital product, as a course, where the time, energy to create it is once, to record a video, put it up as a course, understand, and of course the topic also matters. And then how can I get people to buy that product from any part of the world, and I don't need an office. I can do this from home. So some of the top, freedom business model examples are all over the world. Like I've called it the freedom business model, but this concept has been around for a long time. Like bloggers, we've had affiliate marketers, we've had people who they don't have a big office, they have completely virtual team and stuff, and they're able to sell digital goods from home, and they're able to do it through automation. Like in my case, I have webinars that are running 24/7. People go watch the webinar, they get educated, they get engaged. I set the expectations, then I sell my digital courses and memberships into my community. And once they come into the community, there's a lot of active support that I give there. It's not that 100% it is free. It's not freedom here. Does not mean that I don't do any work. There's a lot of work, but I the work is what I choose to do whenever I choose to do, and I don't need too many overheads, like a typical or traditional business model. So that is what the freedom business model, and now it's picking up steam in India with the boom, especially during COVID and after COVID. Everybody is sitting at home. This has become the one of the best businesses for an individual to start off. Even as a one-person business, you can start off with this, and of course, you can always scale to whatever extent that you want by adding teams. I do have a lot of teams. I work with multiple teams, but nobody's on payroll. I pay per project. I have 3 people on payroll, but all other team members, I pay per project, whether it's design, whether it's website development, whether it's funnel building, whether it's PR or advertising. So everything I have a pay per project kind of a model. So it keeps my overheads less on people costs, keeps my overhead less on infrastructure costs, and whatever profitability I'm making in my business, I reinvest it back into marketing, into advertising, and to scale at a level that allows me to have that freedom to be at home and still achieve those multiple crores in revenues that we've been doing for many years now. Yeah. So that's the freedom business model. Yeah.
Yeah, I think thank you very much. You have been pretty clear about it. Now, since we are in the AI technology and a lot of reforms are going on, even government is planning to change the education system. I have heard you many times saying that the current education policy is wrong. It is actually wrong. It is 100 years, 50 years before courses are being taught. So we being the youngest population in the world, I mean 30 to 40% of our population is young population. We are heading towards a $5 trillion economy and going forward, third biggest economy in the world. So there has to be a strong message for the government and the youngsters going forward. From your perspective, because you have generated a model, you have created freedom for yourself. Also, you have created multiple crororepatis in your, arena. So there has to be some piece of advice or, some way forward for our country youngsters. Also, the government to take these steps forward to bring them into the track. It's a big question. So people like you would be able to help. Yeah.
Yeah. So my thoughts on this is that, the formal education system, it did its part. Okay. It is not that it is wrong. It just needs a revamp right now. Okay. Yeah. Because the world is moving very fast. Yeah. Like you said, with AI technology, like by the time something gets approved and gets into a UGC kind of a curriculum, the world, it will change. Yeah. Okay, so the speed of so the problem with the system of education is a lag between what needs to be there and how fast can it be implemented into the system. So that speed of implementation is where the actual issue of the problem is. Yeah. And if you go back, it also has to do with the mindset of our country itself. Like parenting, it starts with parenting. Like parents, they want their kids to go to school, get a safe and secure job, get a degree, whatever, engineer, doctor, lawyer, all that stuff is there. And that is the old paradigm of thinking of parenting. Now, the problem is not actually with the system of education. The system of education has been set in 1900s by British and it has evolved quite a bit over the years. Yeah. But it is also the mindset of the parents where they want their kids to go with the same track that they have gone without realizing that the track has changed now. Yeah. Like today, I'm working with freelancers who are 18, 19-year-olds. Who are making 2, 3, 4, 5 lakhs per month by being specialists, and they don't have a degree, they don't have anything. They're specialists in specific areas, and that is creating, so it's more around skills. It is not so much about degree certificates anymore. Yeah. Okay, so my view, again, based on what I got from my mentors, is that the only way we can revamp this entire system is not trying to fight the system, but by creating a new breed of teachers. New breed of mentors or implementers. Yeah. So rather than, I tell many of my students are also in school and college. I say you continue whatever you're doing, but start to build skills and learn skills from people who are actually having those skills. Okay. So if you want to learn stock market trading, learn it from somebody who's successful. If you want to learn about how to build a business, go to somebody who's successful and learn from that. If you want to learn how to become healthy, go and learn from there. Because the schooling approach is based on subject-based knowledge where, from 5th, 6th standard, you learn everything. You have 6 subjects, or even ICSE, you have 11 subjects. Yeah. And where are we using that knowledge? It's hardly we use that. Of course, the foundation, basic math, language, all of things, those are important. But if you look at the real world requirement, is solving problems like business problems, career problems, health problem, wealth problem, money problem, creativity problem. So when you take the problem solution based approach in curriculum itself, then people will learn much faster, because today people are not lacking information. They can go on YouTube, they can spend hours a day and learn whatever they want. It's not lack of information today. Today we are in a stage, especially with AI, chat, GPT, you can get whatever you want. What people lack is focused implementation and mentorship, and they lack a proper guidance to go from point A to point B wherever they want to go.
Correct.
And the other challenge today is people, they don't realize that to be successful in the 21st century and beyond, it is not about intellectual quotient anymore. It's about adaptability quotient. Correct. The faster you can learn, unlearn, and relearn new skills, that will keep you more relevant to the way the world is moving. Correct. Because people who have got degrees like 20, 30, 40 years back, they can't talk about that right now because the industry has changed. Yes, it must have helped back then, but now technology has changed, implementations have changed, and there's massive disruptions happening, not just in one or two industries, happening all over the spectrum. Like some people ask me, like, is AI going to just, which industry is AI going to disrupt? My answer is every industry. Everything is going to get disrupted. Yeah. So the problem is not with the education system alone. I mean, it is not, can't blame the system, because there is a lag and there are many levels of policy making that needs to change. But the best that we can do is change ourselves. Like Gandhi says, right? Be the change you want to see in the world. So you change yourself first. Correct. Start becoming a learner, a lifelong learner. Start teaching others. Correct. And instead of, you can't just depend from top to down change. You have to go from bottom to top change. So that's what I'm trying to do in my community. Yes.
Correct. I mean, very true. And you have been able to successfully deliver many of the, or rather help many people across the country grow exponentially. So now one more important question. Since you are one of the leaders in the digital space in our country, and going forward, you will be a leader globally as well. Coming back to our country, I mean, in the IT sector, we are number one in the world. And now of late, the world has realized the potential of Indians, and everywhere in the United States of America, all developed countries, CEOs' positions are being given to the Indians. It is being taken over by the Indians. So how about making India world-class in every front? Education sector, basically, education sector. Because we need to be world-class. We are world-class. Their education system is, I mean, started from India. But in India, we need to take it to a different level in the years to come, next 5 years or next 10 years down the line. So what you have to say about it?
Yeah, so it's back to the same point, which is the learning experience has to change. Like the learning experience, the typical learning experience, if you're looking at the grassroots level, is, you have a classroom, you have the blackboard, the teacher, and where it's a more a dictative style of teaching, like, okay, do this, do your homework, this is how it has to be done. See, it really worked in the industrial era when we had to create more workers for the workforce, where it's very regimented, where they have to go through that. But now the world has changed. The children that are being born, I'm talking about Gen Z and Gen Alpha, which is the next gen, their mindset is very different. They're born into technology. So like kids they know how to use iPad more than other adults, They know how to use the technology. So they are already born. So with them, this approach of regimented based teaching will backfire on the system. So rather, my mentor Blair Singer, he says that the best way to teach, it is to facilitate. Is to facilitate things that allows people to collaborate. Because if you look at the typical education system, it's like, it's all based on memorization. Okay, so first of all, now that has to change, because memory-based stuff is not relevant anymore. Yes, you got to learn, you got to memorize, you got to exercise the power of your brain. But today, you don't need to retain. You can ask Google for whatever you want. You can ask ChatGPT for whatever you want. So memorization, focused learning, I feel that has to change, because see, if, at the end of the day, it's all about the exam, and how much you can remember in that exam. Whoever remembers the most, they get the highest marks. And in the academic world, correct, they are the ones who are glorified. But that is just a one dimension approach. They're only looking at the mental dimension, but we are four dimensional beings. There's mental, there's physical, there's emotional, and there's spiritual. So the education system has to move away from the mental based approach, the mental dimension, to the 4D approach. And the 4D can happen where the way we teach should change. It's not the dictatorship based teaching, but put them into games. Okay, there was a research done on retention. The lowest retention happens when we read, and the highest retention happens when we teach.
Correct.
So the whole thing is, if we can change or tweak the system where we get students to do more projects where they're teaching that to others as they're learning it, or they learn to teach, or they learn by doing demonstrations, they learn through collaborations. So in school, collaborations doesn't happen that much because that's like cheating, no, in exam. So the fundamental fabric of the way we teach has to change, and more importantly, it is who the teacher is also. See, it's not about what you teach; it's about the way you teach it and who you are as a person. So when these three things fall in line, everything will fall into place. And again, if we are playing this game around information, meaning what information you're giving, we are already losing the game, because the information is freely available online, and it's already there. We have to play the game based on human connection now. Because with AI, there's so much happening. The human to human connect is something that is going to be more and more important than ever before, and values, ethics, and morals. Because if we don't feed values, ethics, and morals into AI will start to go crazy. The world is going to go crazy. So there are multiple layers to deal with this, but I think come back to the same root level. The best way to fix this is to get everybody to start teaching others what they want to learn. That's the crux. Yeah.
Correct. Thank you so much. You have been so precise. So now coming back to the real estate industry, as you know, I am trying to bring the real estate industry of India to the world-class level. Because a small thing, common people wants to have a dream home.
Yes.
And their total hard-earned money, lifetime investment, by seeing the board of a developer or by seeing the mock-up flat, they invest the lifetime investment. And they are being cheated for years together by 2 years delay, 3 years delay. However, the government is trying to do something of from their side. RERA was brought in, and now many stringent procedures have come to put a check. So my goal is to make the Indian real estate industry world class in terms of deliverables and in terms of commitment of time and quality. I have been, so I learned the digital space from you only last 1 year. I understand what mentorship is. As you also know, this is my second innings. I had my job tenure for a long period of time. Now I can visualize what mentorship is. So can you throw some light on the mentorship? And I want to give you a message from your side to the real estate industry leaders by taking the help of mentors, or take the help of the people who have delivered to make this industry world class. We cannot be doing the same way we have been doing for years together. So some strong message I want from your side to the industry itself.
So I don't know much about the real estate industry, like to the depth that you know. But I would say to create a transformation in any industry, that requires a clarity in vision for that industry itself. Meaning, let's say if there are a few of the members in the real estate industry who are prominent, who have a large influence in the industry, who have a say in in the trends that are changing, and who are also trendsetters, who are setting the trends, they should start collaborating and discussing and masterminding with the fellow people. So I think the crux of any change can happen not with one person, but it has to be with a unified approach. They say unity is strength.
Correct.
So till now, yes, there could be many aspects or might have been going on in the industry where everybody is offending for themselves. Okay, everybody is working in silos. Now this happened even in our digital industry when we were growing. There was a lot. Everybody were in our own silos, And in the year 2017, 18, we formed something called the Digital Masters Alliance. Like 9 of our top digital leaders, we came together. To the outside world, everyone thought, okay, we are competitors, but how come we are working together? That's what we started off. So what I mean by unity is like, so we made a list of the top, digital marketers at that point. Now there are many people, but then 9 of us came together. We sat and we brainstormed in Chennai in a 5-star hotel for 2 full days from morning to night. We discussed about what are the problems in the industry. We spoke openly about what we are doing. We also identified what is the area that we can contribute in, and then we formed an alliance. Okay, it was not a formal entity or a company, and then we started to do events together. So we partnered with Success Gyan. We did our first Digital Masters conference in New Delhi on Independence Day in 2018 with more than 1,000 people in the room. And then when we came together, it was a milestone event in the digital marketing industry itself, because never ever people have seen like all of us come together on the same platform and stage with a common vision, common message. And the vision was, yes, let's carry forward the digital India vision, and let's educate people in how to get on the digital bandwagon and like that. So many of us started to grow after that. So for the real estate industry, if something like that can happen, meaning make a list of the top names, start to collaborate, without any kind of course, the intent is very important over here. If there is a selfish intent, for even if there's one person who is more like what's in it for me, it won't work. It is what's in it for India, what's in it for the country. Like that vision. I mean, the whole conversation should start with how can we make India great by revolutionizing the real estate industry. The conversation should start over there. It's not like what can I get out of this alliance. Like it never works like that. So when that happens, then what will happen is there's a concept called the mastermind principle, which Napoleon Hill talks about. He says that when a group of people come together and they discuss productively on what to do, there's a third brain that opens up in ether. Okay, so all of us have our own brains, and you have a third brain that opens up, and from there you will start to get, this is what is called the mastermind. Okay, that's the mastermind, where you start to get new ideas and new ways to actually make things work and grow. And those exchange in ideas, if you continuously do it, and the 9 of us, we used to meet every Sunday, 10 a.m. to 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and we would just share with everyone, okay, what's working for us, what's working. By the end of those 2 hours, we would have a collection of new ideas and evolved ideas, and we would go back and implement that back into our own communities and our own businesses. So that really was useful. So doing a mastermind, and then comes the grassroots level, like going downwards. So now we're looking at vendors, we're looking at suppliers, we're looking at there are so many components to the whole ecosystem of real estate. Now, I'm sure everybody would be knowing which are the areas that are the gray areas, or the areas where it's a little shady and not, things are not very transparent over there. How you can make that, or how you can inculcate values top to down in the own real estate mastermind itself. So when 9 of us started to come together in our own communities, we started to speak more about values, ethics, like registering your company, paying your taxes on time, all of the things that abide by the laws of the land, where we are doing things not just for making quick money, but we're doing things where there's a value added to the marketplace. Okay? And the value exchange. So these kind of principles need to be inculcated, because if something has been happening for many years, and you can't change that overnight, you have to change the culture. Okay? The cultural change does not happen overnight. It happens over time. But it has to happen when there is a unified force at the top. So what you're doing right now is the start of that. I think you're having these realistic conversations now with many industry leaders in your own space. You're bringing out the awareness. So the first part of the whole process is to create the awareness that yes, the industry is in this state. These are the gaps in the system. These are the holes that need to be plugged, and we need to work on these areas. And then, rather than focusing on the problem, then second phase is to focus on the solution, like what all can be done. And then I think that's the starting point for you. And then of course I'm sure you have models for each.
Exactly.
If you have to work on this piece, you have a framework. If you have to work on this piece as a framework, so there are frameworks that will be formed and they'll keep changing over time. But I think that's what not just real estate, every industry needs to move through these stages of awareness, and then there's a correction, and then there's going to be an actual contribution to the economy of the country. So that's the phase it's going to go.
Thank you so much. I mean, a very elaborate answer. And now one last but not the least, it is for the kids, basically, the youngsters who are in schools. After the post-corona, I would say rather, where they have been used to consistent use of digital space, whether it's a mobile, whether it's a laptop, whether it's a tab, including my children, I mean, they are so attached to it, they forgot connecting with the other part of the world. And it is my observation from many families. In fact, I have two daughters. They are also in the same this thing. So how to come out of this? Somehow or anyhow, I mean, they are trying to stick themselves to that devices once they are out from the school or whenever they are in the house. Only electronic devices. That's all.
Okay. So now the question is, what do you want them to do? Right? So they need to find something to do which they resonate with, which is off the device. I mean, I can remember when I was growing up in school, there was no device. So I was always on the field, playing games and, always on the street, playing street cricket and all that stuff. So, but now the world has changed. What I feel is, see, you can only replace something when you find an alternative, meaning, you can't fight the system, but you have to find a replacement to the system. And I'm talking about more from the kid perspective. So let's say if your kids are more in the gadgets during that time, maybe you need to find out what else do they want to do besides the gadget. Okay. And for me, even my kids go through that, but I don't, again, it's a perspective of the parenting perspective. So I feel that what they're doing in the gadget also matters. Like if they're just randomly watching some stuff which is negative, then it's something to correct. But if I know that they're exercising their brain power and their creativity and they're maybe they're playing some games but it's a very constructive, process. Yeah. I don't mind that, so I'm not also, there are two parts to it. One is from a parenting perspective, don't be too rigid, but look at how that can enhance their abilities and their skills.
Correct.
And the second part is finding an alternative to what they want. So whether, like, let's say my son, he's interested in cricket now. So yeah, put him into something like that. So there's a lot of out there time and not on the device time. So you can replace that with some kind of an activity. Now this is how, so see, when it comes to parenting, each family, each situation, each culture, everyone needs to design that life. So I think going back to the drawing board, just identify what do you think is the best for your child from your perspective, and what do you think that they need to learn. And then when you see some things are going a little bit off track, like it's going overboard, then rather than telling them don't do this, don't do that, or going into that dictatorship parenting, like dictatorship schooling, is replace it with what else can you do? What else do you want to do? And it's more to engage that monkey mind in the right thing rather than trying to fight the monkey, So it's that's how it is. And I guess even for me in my school days, I was a rebel, and I know that feeling. The teenage age is so I think it's a stage where you need to be more like a friend and discuss these things and understand that technology can be a friend. Technology can be an accelerator for for their opportunities in the future if they are hands-on, if they are tactile and they got that knowledge. But it's just a matter of what they're going to go. So there's no one answer to this. Each family situation is different. But of course, you have to be aware of the flip side of the dangers of technology and how extended use can affect brain, can affect, maybe the back, the neck, and there are so many things that could come later. So you have to be aware of those things, but also be flexible on a case-to-case situation. Like even within the family, there are two children, both need to be dealt with in a unique way. Both of them are not falling under the same template. Yeah. So that's my answer.
Yeah, I think, thank you very much. You have been very clear about it. So last one-liner statement for the professionals, for the students, for the youths, because of the changing technology, as you mentioned in between, because of the AI technology, many people are of the fear that there will be job losses. Of course, yes, there will be job losses. But then human beings are human beings. We are going to be there. So from your experience, your perspective, one-liner statement for the people who are in chaos or nervous. Yeah.
My one-line statement would be, See, the the world is going to change. The only constant is change. In fact, that is the
Yeah.
one line statement.
Yeah.
But rather, trying to fight change is if you can continuously evolve as a person. So, meaning that if rather than getting nervous or fearful about, oh, I'm not going to get a job, change the questions in your mind.
Yeah.
Like, when you change the questions that you ask yourself, or when you change the conversation inside your mind, you will change your life. So rather than looking at this as a problem, you're looking at it as an opportunity. What is the opportunity in this? When you ask that question, everything else will open up, rather than asking what will happen to my life. Not like, what is the opportunity even in a situation like that's where. So the crux is constant is change, and when you change your questions, you will find the answers to change your life. Yeah.
Fair enough. So thank you so much for your time. I mean, we had a wonderful conversation. So, I mean, we'll be meeting up later on again. Signing off for now. Thank you so much.